My name is Sophia Martinez, and I'm 27 years old. My hands were shaking, but not from the cold. It was the anger vibrating through the phone. I looked at the bank notification, £1,700 pending, for a party where I wasn't a guest, but the hired help. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I simply dialed the caterer. The woman answered, expecting me to confirm the roast beef. I took a breath. "Cancel it," I said. "Cancel the lot, and don't tell my mother." It was 7 days before Christmas. I had just lit the match that would burn my family's perfect day to the ground. "Hey, friend, it's getting late. Have you had a glass of water recently? Don't let a dehydration headache mess with your evening. Go on, take a sip, get comfy, and let's see what happens next." Her words landed like a slap. The catering, the money, the praise. It wasn't a thank you, it was a transaction. It was the price of admission to be treated like hired help at a party I was paying for. 3 weeks before Christmas, I was at work trying to focus on a data analysis project when my mobile lit up. Mum. "Hi, sweetheart, I'm calling about Christmas. We're going big this year." She started listing people as if she was reading off a shopping list. "Your Auntie Lynn is coming with her 3 kids, plus Uncle Mark and Auntie Denise with their 2, and of course Natalie's husband's parents and his brother's family will be there too. That's another 4 children." I did the maths without meaning to. 9 kids, all told. My stomach sank as the numbers stacked up. "That sounds nice," I said carefully. "What do you need me to bring?" "Actually," she said, and her tone shifted just slightly, "that's what I'm calling about. I don't think I can cook for that many by myself. I was hoping you could sort the food, get some nice catering so everyone's got plenty." It was the way she said it, casual, as if she was asking me to pick up a trifle. Catering for that many people was going to cost a fortune. "How many are we talking?" I asked, even though I already knew. "About 25 altogether," she said. "I know it's a lot to ask, but you're doing so well at your job, and the rest of us are struggling a bit at the moment." I wanted to say no. I wanted to say having a decent job doesn't make me the family bank account. But it was family, and it was Christmas, and she sounded tired, stressed, like she'd been carrying it all. "All right," I said, "I'll handle it." Her relief was instant. "Oh, thank you, love. Honestly, you're such a good daughter. I'll send you a list of everyone's favourites." When I ended the call, I sat at my desk, staring at my screen, feeling that familiar mix of resentment and guilt. It was going to be nearly £1,700 by the time it was all paid, and I wasn't even being asked if I wanted to do it. I was being told, politely. Still, I pushed it down like I always did. Told myself it was a one-off, told myself it would make everyone happy. I placed the order with Romano's Kitchen, a local place Mum loved because it felt a bit special. I paid the deposit of £1,000 and tried not to think about the final balance. Work got busy. Christmas crept closer, and against my better judgment, I started letting myself look forward to it. A big family day, laughter, warmth, everyone together. Then, exactly a week before Christmas, my phone rang while I was finishing a report at my desk. A woman's professional voice came through. "Hello, is that Ms. Martinez? It's Sarah from Romano's Kitchen. I'm calling about your Christmas Day catering order." "Hi," I said. "Is everything all right?" "I'm so sorry," she replied, sounding genuinely apologetic, "but we've got an issue with one of your items, the honey-glazed gammon joint. Our suppliers had problems and we won't be able to provide it. We can offer a roast beef joint instead, same price. Would that be all right?" I was disappointed because Mum had made a big song and dance about the gammon, but I tried to stay calm. Let me check with my family," I said. "Can I call you back?" "Of course," Sarah replied. "Just let us know as soon as you can so we can finalise everything." As soon as I hung up, I rang Mum. Straight to voicemail. I tried Dad. Straight to voicemail. Then Natalie, my sister. Straight to voicemail again. It was like they'd all vanished at the exact moment I needed a simple answer. So I did what I usually did when my family didn't pick up. I drove round after work. Someone had to be home. I pulled up outside my parents' house just after 6. I'd timed it to miss the worst of the traffic, but even so the roads were busy. I let myself in with my key, like I always did. The hallway was warm. The house smelled like dinner, something slow-cooked and comforting. I was about to call out when I heard Mum's voice from the living room. She was on the landline, speaking loudly, excitedly, the way she did when she was planning something and wanted the other person to feel lucky to be included. Then I heard my name. I stopped dead. "Oh, Lynn," Mum was saying brightly, "Sophia will be perfect for watching all the kids. Don't worry about bringing activities." My throat went tight. "Watching all the kids?" "We're going to set up the back bedroom upstairs with some films and games," Mum went on, "and Sophia can just stay up there with all 9 children while we adults enjoy Christmas downstairs." 9 children. My heart started going too fast, like it couldn't decide whether to run or be sick. I pressed myself back against the wall, half hidden by the doorway, not wanting to be seen but unable to move. "I know," Mum continued laughing. "It's perfect. Sophia doesn't have kids of her own, so she's not already exhausted like the rest of us. And she's the youngest adult in the family, so she's got the energy." I felt sick. They'd planned it, properly planned it, like I wasn't even a person who might have an opinion. "Trust me," she said, still cheerful. "Bring all your grandkids. Sophia's got Natalie's too every weekend, so what's a few more for one day? This way, all the adults can actually relax and enjoy ourselves for once, instead of constantly chasing children around." Someone on the other end must have said something that made her laugh even harder. "Exactly," Mum said. "We'll just stick all 9 upstairs with Sophia and we can have a real adult Christmas. A bit of wine, actual conversation, maybe some cards. It'll be lovely." I backed towards the front door as quietly as I could, my hands shaking. My chest felt tight. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So that was it. That was why I'd been asked to pay for the catering. Not because they needed help, not because they were grateful. Because if I paid, I'd feel trapped, obligated, like I'd bought myself a job. I waited until I heard Mum say her goodbyes, then I opened and closed the front door a bit louder, like I'd only just arrived. "Mum, I'm here," I called, forcing my voice to sound normal. "Oh, Sophia, sweetheart," she said, appearing in the hallway with a huge smile that didn't reach her eyes. "What a lovely surprise. What brings you by?" I kept my face steady. "The caterer's called. They can't do the honey-glazed gammon. They can swap it for roast beef instead. Is that okay with everyone?" Mum waved her hand like it was nothing. "Oh, that's fine," she said brightly. "Whatever you think is best, love. Whatever you think is best. Like the food was my choice, like the rest of it was too." I nodded, turned, and walked back out to my car. Once I was inside, I sat there gripping the steering wheel, staring through the windscreen, trying to breathe properly. They'd set me up. Pay the full bill, babysit 9 children, spend Christmas upstairs while the grown-ups drank wine and congratulated themselves on their lovely day. And the worst part was how normal it all felt to them. Nobody had asked me. Nobody had checked. They'd just assumed I'd do it, because I always did. By the time I got home to my flat, my hands were still shaking. I paced the living room, anger rising in waves. This wasn't just Christmas. This was my life. Years of being treated like the spare part who exists to make everything easier for everyone else. Every Saturday when Natalie dropped the kids off like it was a given. Every time my parents backed her up when I tried to say I was busy. Every holiday where I somehow ended up clearing plates, entertaining children, being told to help out, while everyone else sat down. And now this, a proper little plan. I was done. I grabbed my phone and rang Romano's kitchen. "Hi," I said when someone answered. "This is Sophia Martinez. I placed the large Christmas Day catering order." "Yes, Ms. Martinez," the woman replied. "Have you decided about the roast beef substitution?" "Actually," I said, and my voice sounded calmer than I felt, "I need to cancel the entire order." There was a pause. "Cancel the whole thing?" she repeated. "But Christmas is only a week away." "I understand," I said. "Please cancel it." "We can process that," she said carefully, "but there will be administrative fees deducted from your refund. You'll get back about £800. "That's fine," I replied. "Please cancel it today." "All right," she said. "The refund should appear back on your card within 3 to 5 working days." When I ended the call, I felt a strange mix of relief and panic. I'd just cancelled Christmas dinner for 25 people, and they had absolutely no idea. I sat on my sofa, staring at my phone, trying to slow my breathing. Then I remembered something, like a light flicking on. 3 months earlier, back in September, my university friend Jess had rung me with an invitation. We'd been flatmates in first year and stayed close even after she moved north for work. She was always posting pictures of frosty walks and cozy weekends away. "Sophia, you have to come spend Christmas with us this year," she'd said. "My parents have this gorgeous place up in the Highlands. We always do a proper Christmas up there. Snow if we're lucky, hot chocolate, games, all of it." I'd turned her down without thinking. "That sounds amazing," I'd said, "but I always spend Christmas with my family." Now, sitting in my flat after hearing Mum's plan, that conversation felt like a door I'd closed without realising it. I found Jess's number. My fingers were still unsteady when I hit call. She answered on the second ring, cheerful as ever. "Sophia, oh honestly, where have you been?" I let out a breath. "Hi, listen, I know this is really last minute, but that invite for Christmas, is it still open?" There was a beat, then her voice went bright. "Are you serious?" "Yes, absolutely. Come, we're travelling up on the 23rd. Can you get here by then?" "I can get up after work on the 23rd, I said. "Train, most likely." "Perfect," Jess said instantly. "I'll text you everything, timetables, what to pack, all of it. I can't wait." When we hung up, the weight on my chest eased for the first time in days. The 23rd came around quickly. I finished work, grabbed my packed bag and headed to the station. The train north was busy with people and suitcases and that frantic pre-Christmas energy. By the time I arrived in Edinburgh, it was late. Jess met me at the other end with a hug so tight it made my eyes sting. Her parents, Carol and Simon, were waiting at their house with cups of tea and that easy warmth some families have without even trying. "We're so glad you're here," Carol said, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. That night we played a board game at the kitchen table and laughed until my cheeks hurt. The next morning we set off early. Simon drove, the car full of bags and snacks, and the landscape slowly changed. More open roads, darker skies, hills rolling out like someone had unfolded a blanket. When we finally reached the lodge near Aviemore, it really did feel like stepping into another world. Not fancy, not showy, just cosy, warm lights in the windows, a place that smelled of wood and clean air. Christmas Eve was quiet and lovely. We went for a long walk, my breath clouding in front of me. We came back red-cheeked and cold, and Carol put mugs of hot chocolate into our hands like it was a ritual. We spent the evening eating, chatting, playing games, and I kept catching myself waiting for someone to hand me a job, to tell me to watch kids, to clear up, to be helpful. But nobody did. I was just there. On Christmas Day, late morning, my phone started buzzing, properly buzzing like it was angry. I looked at Jess, who was curled up on the sofa with a blanket and a mince pie. "Right," I said quietly. "I suppose this is the part where it kicks off," I answered. "Hello, Mum." Her voice was sharp enough to cut through the line. "Sophia, where are you? Everyone's here. The food was meant to arrive over an hour ago." I took a breath and let it out slowly. "I'm not coming," I said. "What do you mean you're not coming?" Mum snapped. "Don't be ridiculous. Get here now." "I heard your conversation with Auntie Lynn last week," I said, keeping my voice calm. "I know about the plan to stick me upstairs with 9 kids while you all enjoy yourselves." There was silence, not even background noise, just nothing. Then Mum's voice went tight and defensive. "I don't know what you think you heard, but you're being dramatic." "I heard you laughing," I said, "laughing about dumping all the kids on me because I don't have any of my own. You never planned for me to be part of Christmas. You planned for me to work." Her breath hitched. Then, in that familiar tone she used when she'd run out of patience, she said, "If you don't get here, we'll come to your flat and bring the children there." She said it like a threat, the sort people make when they've lost control. I actually laughed then, a short sound that surprised even me. "Good luck," I said. "I'm not at my flat. I'm on holiday." I could hear voices in the background now, Natalie, other relatives, that rising confusion. Then Natalie's voice closer. She must have taken the phone. "Sophia, what is wrong with you?" she demanded. "We planned to relax while you watched the kids. You're being so selfish." "I'm tired of being your free childcare," I said, and my voice was steady, even. "And I'm tired of people making plans behind my back. Don't bother waiting for the catering either. I cancelled it last week. You can do Christmas without my money." There was a strangled noise from her, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. I ended the call and switched my phone off. The silence that followed was so peaceful it almost made me dizzy. Jess stared at me wide-eyed. "Blimey," she said softly. "Are you okay?" I looked around the room, the fairy lights, the warm mugs, Carol in the kitchen humming as she did something with potatoes, Simon poking the fire with the kind of calm you only get from people who aren't constantly on edge. I swallowed. "You know what?" I said. "I'm better than okay. I feel free." I kept my phone off through Christmas Day and into the next morning. For the first time in years, my holiday didn't involve managing other people's children, or fixing problems, or being told to just help. We went for another walk. We ate far too much. We played games. We watched a film with everyone piled on sofas like a proper little heap of warmth and laughter. Nobody treated me like the spare pair of hands. I was just included. On Boxing Day morning, I finally turned my phone back on. My notifications went mad. 43 missed calls, 15 from Mum, 12 from Dad, 8 from Natalie, 5 from Natalie's husband, 3 from various relatives who'd clearly decided it was their job to sort me out. And the messages. Mum's were first short and furious. "Call me now, where are you? This is unacceptable." Then they got nastier, in that way people get when they're angry but want you to feel guilty too. "You've ruined Christmas for everyone. You're selfish and cruel." We were left with nothing. Natalie's were worse. "We had to rush to the supermarket last minute. There was barely anything left. My in-laws think we're a joke." Her husband wrote too. "Natalie's crying because of what you did. The kids keep asking why there's no proper dinner." Then Dad. We spent the whole day in a terrible mood. The kids were a nightmare. They were running about, shouting, making a mess. "This is all your fault." I read them all, one after another. And instead of feeling sick with guilt, like I normally did, I started laughing. Not because it was funny, but because it was so painfully obvious. They'd wanted to dump it all on me. The kids, the chaos, the responsibility. And without me there, they'd been forced to live in the mess they'd been planning for me. I stayed up there with Jess and her family for a few more days. The air was sharp, the kind that clears your head. I slept properly. I ate meals where nobody snapped at me. I wasn't bracing myself for the next demand. On the 28th, I took the train back down to London. My phone buzzed on and off the whole journey, but I ignored it. I wasn't ready to be pulled back into their version of events. The next morning, the 29th, I was making coffee when someone knocked on my door. Not a polite knock, not a neighbour's quick tap. Aggressive, insistent, the sort of knocking that says, "I'm not leaving until I get what I came for." I looked through the peephole, and there they were. Mum, Dad, Natalie. All three of them stood in the corridor, faces tight with anger. I took a slow breath and opened the door. "Hi," I said. Mum pushed straight past me into the flat like she owned it. Dad and Natalie followed. "We need to talk," Dad said, in the stern voice he used when I was a teenager, and he wanted me to feel small. "All right," I said, closing the door behind them. "Let's talk." Mum spun to face me, eyes blazing. "How could you do this to us, Sophia? We had 25 people turn up expecting a proper Christmas dinner, and we had nothing. Nothing." "The guests were asking where the food was," Dad added. "We had to tell them there'd been some sort of mix-up. We looked like idiots." Natalie stepped closer, her face flushed. "My husband's family think we're completely disorganised. His mum kept going on about how we should have had a backup plan. I was mortified. And the children," Mum said, flinging her hands up. "All 9 of them were everywhere, screaming, running about, making a mess. It was chaos." I felt a smile tug at my mouth and I didn't fight it. "Sounds awful," I said, having to actually watch a bunch of children at a family gathering. I can't imagine how exhausting that must have been. "Don't be cheeky," Dad snapped. "You knew exactly what you were doing." "Yes," I said, and my voice was calm. "I did. I chose not to be your unpaid babysitter and your personal caterer." "You're our daughter," Mum said, voice wobbling like she wanted to cry and shout at the same time. "You're supposed to help family." "Helping family is one thing," I replied. "What you wanted wasn't help. You wanted me to pay the full bill and then spend the whole day upstairs with 9 kids while you all relaxed downstairs. That's not family. That's being used." Natalie's jaw tightened. "We work hard all week. We deserve to relax on Christmas." "And I don't?" I asked. "I don't work hard? I don't deserve a break?" "You don't have kids," she shot back like it was a verdict. "You don't understand what it's like." "You're right," I said. "I don't have kids. which means Christmas isn't about me looking after everyone else's. It's meant to be about family spending time together. Mum wiped at her face, then straightened, her voice going cold. Because of you, we'll never be able to show our faces to those relatives again. Lynn said she's never coming for Christmas again. Your uncle's family left early, Dad added. They said it was too chaotic. Natalie folded her arms. My husband's brother asked if our gatherings are always like this. I didn't know what to say. I looked at the three of them, standing in my living room, blaming me for a disaster they'd created. And something inside me went very still. You know what? I said quietly. I don't care. They stared at me. I don't care that you were embarrassed, I continued. I don't care that people left early. I don't care that you had a stressful Christmas. Mum's mouth fell open. How can you say that? Because you've been using me for years, I said. And I'm done. Every Saturday, Natalie drops the kids on me like it's automatic. Every holiday, you expect me to pay for things or cook or clean or babysit. You never ask what I want. You never ask if I'm all right with it. You just decide. We're your family, Dad said, as if that explained everything. Family doesn't manipulate each other, I said. Family doesn't plot behind someone's back to trick them into free childcare. Mum's face hardened. Fine! If that's how you feel, we're done. We won't invite you to any more family gatherings. We won't include you in anything. You can just be alone. Good, I said without hesitation. All three of them froze, like they weren't used to me saying anything clean and final. You don't mean that, Natalie said, quieter now. I do, I replied. I'm tired of being treated like the family servant. I have my own life, and I'm going to start living it. You'll regret it, Mum said, voice sharp. When you're older and alone, you'll regret pushing your family away. The only thing I regret, I said, looking straight at her, is not standing up for myself sooner. Dad pointed towards the door. Let's go. She's made her choice. They moved to leave. Mum paused at the threshold, turning back one last time. Don't come crying to us when you realise what you've lost. I won't, I said, and I meant it. When the door shut behind them, the flat went quiet in that way that feels strange at first, and then comforting. I sat on the sofa for a few minutes, letting it settle in my chest. Then I picked up my phone and blocked their numbers. Over the next few days, other relatives tried. An aunt rang to tell me I was ungrateful. An uncle told me I was breaking Mum's heart. A cousin suggested I just apologise and move on. I ended every call. It's been 2 months since that Christmas. I haven't spoken to Mum, Dad, or Natalie since they barged into my flat. I still hear bits through the grapevine. Apparently Mum and Dad want to work things out, but they don't know how to approach it. When people ask if I'll reconcile, I give the same answer every time. I'll consider talking again when they're ready to admit what they did. That they used me as free childcare for years and never treated me like I mattered. So far none of them are ready for that. And honestly, I'm happier than I've been in ages. My weekends are mine. I can sleep in on Saturday without bracing for a knock at the door. I can meet friends, go for a walk, do nothing at all without guilt creeping in. I've even started seeing someone, and it's nice to have time for a relationship without feeling like I'm on call for everyone else's life. I don't feel guilty. I finally learned something I should have known a long time ago. Family shouldn't mean handing over your peace so other people can have it easier.